they pay. Again, we're back live now. This is the Fernwood area, just above Tuna Canyon. Probably about a mile or less west of Topanga Canyon. Topanga, of course, the scene of that big stand last night and this morning as firefighters battled the flames and got the upper hand earlier this morning. Let's go live now to Bob Petty, who is, I believe, live over Fernwood. Bob?
Paul, these winds now have turned out of the west. The wind's calm is not true now. The winds have turned out of the west and are burning to the west, to the east, pushed by a west wind of about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And that's what's changed this fire from one that was just a standing fire that they were hitting hot spots to one that's got major flare-ups, as one you see around this trailer up on the top of the area above Tuna Canyon. As we proceed eastbound towards the actual little community of Fernwood, we're seeing multiple major hot spots with helicopters working within that area, putting out the hot spots as these flare-ups occur and push downwind. But what we had was the flank that was created by the fire that started 2 days ago, burning towards the coastline and burning mostly towards the southwest. That whole flank now with hot spots, although it's not a solid flank as it used to be, major hot spots all through that flank now being hit by that west wind and pushing them down into the little community of Fernwood. 100 homes being evacuated right now by the sheriff's deputies down here below us. There is a heavy fire presence of engines and other down inside the community next to homes for structure protection. But a major danger now with this fire, no northeast winds, no Santa Ana influence, but the coastal influence, which should bring cooler breezes and moisture breezes later on this evening, but causing major problems now as it forces those hot spots down in the community of Fernwood and possibly even further down into Topanga Canyon. So far, Topanga Canyon Drive has not been breached.
Bob,
it has not been crossed.
Okay, thank you. Keep an eye on that trailer down there as we watch one of those big Boeing helicopters dumping 800 to 1,000 gallons of water on that fire in Fernwood. Governor Wilson, about an hour ago, announced that they have increased the reward money now to for the arrest and conviction of the suspected arsonist in this fire, or any of the fires in the last week, to $125,000. Now, the state only can come up with $50,000, so that means that they're getting $75,000 from some private grants or donations, if you will. The reward money is $125,000. Arson is suspected in this fire. Linda Alvarez is with us now at the origin of this fire, and I believe, Linda, you got a homicide investigator with you. Linda Alvarez?
All right. Thank you, Paul. Yes, I am at the point of origin. The arson investigation has been going all day here, and the arson investigators have just left the area. And also, in addition to an investigation for arson, is an investigation for possible homicide. With me right now is Deputy Jerome Beck, and he has been part of the investigation right now. It's not a homicide yet, but what are you thinking and what have you found?
Well, we have two people that were very critically injured, one more than the other. And so as part of the routine investigation, matter of fact, I took responsibility of the case yesterday evening, and we responded today at first light. So together with Arson Explosives, we're conducting a joint investigation. So if it turns out that one of the victims dies or anyone dies, it definitely would be come under the Homicide Bureau.
You and investigators have been climbing the hillside all day long. You also have been talking to two young boys that we understand were witnesses. We saw them being escorted up here by sheriff's deputies. Can you tell me what role they're playing in this investigation?
They were here yesterday when the fire started, and they made certain observations, tried to help out, wound up leaving the area, and then voluntarily came back and made statements and pointed things out to us. So they're very helpful.
Are they suspects in any way?
No, not in the slightest.
So they're witnesses. Are you able to tell me what they saw?
No, but I'm also able to say that they're not the only people we've been talking to who have made observations. So we have a number of things that we're working on at this time.
We had heard the possibilities of a suspicious car in this area, a blue car. Can you confirm that?
We know about the blue car, and that's not part of the case.
Okay, so that is not part of the investigation. It's not suspect at this time.
No, it's not.
Okay. What are you able to tell me about anything that you found up there?
Right now we're dealing with negatives, which is very much part of an arson investigation. which is you're ruling things out. We're ruling out lightning strikes, we're ruling out power lines down, things of that nature. So it's a very complicated process, and arson explosives, that's their area of expertise, so they're assisting us in that.
One of the things that helped you pinpoint this as the beginning of the fire was that someone right next door spotted the fire and called 911. Is that the only way that you knew that it started here?
No, there's other evidence that we determined once we finally got to the spot. But you're right, someone did point it out and said this is where they believe the fire started. So this is where we started and worked our way out.
Where do you go from here?
Well, we've been working this hillside extensively. We've been working this area where the two men were injured. We have workable information, and when I leave here in a few moments, I have to go do some computer work and be heading downtown.
I know you're very busy. Thank you for joining us. I have one last question. You see something like this starting in a small spot, but devastating hundreds of homes, burning 2 people critically and others severely. What are your personal thoughts when you see something like this?
You can't help but walk through, like I did today, through someone's home. It's just absolutely destroyed. And not think that, God, that for the grace of God, that could have been my house. Even if you get out of a situation intact, you know, all those parts, all those your pictures and diaries and photo albums, everything, it's all gone. It's when someone does something like this, they've just touched so many lives, and probably for the rest of their life, and it's really disturbing.
It's definitely arson?
No, we're not saying that. We're saying if someone does something like that, there's no excuse for it.
Investigation continues. Thank you very much, Deputy Beck.
You're very welcome.
Okay. This is Linda Alvarez reporting live from the point of origin of the fire at the top of Old Topanga Canyon Road. Back to you, Paul, in the studio.
Thank you, Linda, as investigators go through that ground inch by inch, looking for the tiniest clue as to the origin and as to how this fire might have started. If it is arson, and if somebody is arrested and convicted, you might be wondering, how much time will they do? Under current law, the maximum 9 years. The governor said this afternoon he'd like to increase that to life. We'll be back with more on the flare-up in Fernwood and the evacuations above PCH in just a moment.
They're juggling 2 careers, raising 2 kids.
Julie, get back here, honey.
And just when they thought it was safe to go back to the bedroom,
No! What?
look who's talking now.
Showing. What a set of paws.
John Travolta, Kirstie Alley, and the voices of Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton.
What, no bubbles? Take it away.
Sheesh.
They like each other. Mongrel.
Put a sock in it.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
Mara.
John Travolta, Kirstie Alley, with the voices of Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton.
Showing.
They like each other.
Mongrel. Put a sock in it.
Look who's talking now. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, November 5th.
Hey, I'll try Sunny D. Some good stuff.
Hey, 2 kinds of Sunny D.
Some kids love the rich, tangy taste of original Sunny.
A special announcement. Cars Yes has slashed prices on every car in stock. Now you can enjoy big savings on our entire inventory. The price of every car is reduced, from Hondas to Cadillacs. And at Cars Yes, we have financing even if you've been turned down elsewhere. So hurry to Cars Yes and take advantage of our price reductions now. Cars Yes. Call now for one of 6 locations nearest you. 1-800-CARS-YES.
I needed to go to the dentist. I called almost everyone in the area, and no one could offer what Western Dental can.
At Western Dental, you only pay about half the price of what you'd pay at a regular dentist. We have very low monthly payment plans with no interest charge that anyone can afford.
So make it easy on yourself. Just call the right number.
If you have insurance or Denti-Cal, or if you need a payment plan, make sure you call the right number, 1-800-6-DENTAL.
Scenes of smoke, fire, and destruction. The battle continues in this huge Topanga Canyon Malibu fire that has burned now 35,000 acres and continues to burn in the Fernwood area. That is up above Pacific Coast Highway at the top of Tuna Canyon. 100 people as we speak being evacuated. They have to go. There's a voluntary evacuation, there's a mandatory. When this one is mandatory, you've got to get your stuff and you've got to get out of there, and that is what those people are doing right now. And that's a story we've seen repeated over and over the last 24 hours. They're fighting it from the air and they're fighting it on the ground. And Conan Nolan is down there and was down there during the heat of the battle there in Fernwood at the top of Tuna Canyon.
This is Conan Nolan reporting from the top of Engine Company 13 here on Tuna Canyon Road. This engine company is in the process of trying to wet as much vegetation as possible in order to keep the flames along this road from making their way across toward the home I believe you may be looking at now. Now, as it stands right now, the fire continues to blow from this end of the canyon down Tuna Canyon Road. They're getting help from water-dropping helicopters, a large number of them. But as it stands right now, this gentleman's about to spray us. Let me ask him real quick. Excuse me. Can I ask you real quick, what's the strategy here using this pumper?
All this dry stuff right here, if that fire balls up and heads for the hills, it's going to take that house out. This is just to knock it down, pre-treat it, so it doesn't go as hard into that house, and hopefully we can save it. It's just it's a box of matches is what it is.
Now you can hit and run with this truck, can't you?
Can. It's a pain in the butt to do what we're doing, but it's like the only way. You don't want to get anybody inside that. It comes up too quick and it'll butt you in the butt.
Very kind. Thanks very much. We don't want that to happen. As you pan to the right, Dennis, you'll see the house that he was referring to. This structure, and you couldn't get a worse structure in terms of composition and a fire, because that is made of nothing but wood. As again, the fire people here refer to it as a Malibu-type construction, a beautiful home, lots of vegetation, and lots of wood. Right now, lots of hot spots around the corner, around the bend. You can see one down here on another road just off this one here in the area of Fernwood. Lots of helicopter aerial activity as one flies over to our left and makes yet another drop in the effort to try to keep the flames at bay. That helicopter disappears into the smoke. This is Conan Nolan reporting from on top of on top of Tuna Canyon Road. Back to you.
I hope you got a good look at that house that Conan was talking about. That was on tape because that house is now gone. And Southern Californians being a tenacious, independent lot, undoubtedly that house is going to be rebuilt, as most of the people that we talked to that are being allowed back in and in Laguna last week said, look, we came here for a reason, we're going to stay, we're going to rebuild. You're looking live now at the flare-up in Fernwood and the top of Tuna Canyon. 11 C-130s, 10 water-dropping choppers are available. Bob Petty, you're up there. Are they using the tankers on this one?
Paul, what they're using on this flank of the fire down over Fernwood is helicopters. The tankers are working over on the west side of the fire, but the helicopters have all been moved over here now. County Fire, U.S. Forest Service, and contract helicopters, Boeing Vertals, CH-34 helicopters that carry 3,000 gallons in their bucket. Those are the twin-rotor helicopters that you've seen working all day. The Sikorsky Sky Crane carried 2,000 gallons. A gallon of water weighs 8 pounds, so you can see the heavy lift capability of these helicopters. LA City Fire 5 seems to be directing the firefighting effort over here with the helicopters as they hit hot spots. This whole western flank has turned now, being pushed by a west wind downslope towards Fernwood and towards Topanga Canyon. It's not a solid flank, thank goodness, but many, many hot spots as this wind has turned from that northeast Santa Ana to the west wind, hitting otherwise unprotected brush that has not burned prior to this. And now they're fighting, they're working very, very hard, very quickly to keep this from getting down in the community of Fernwood. But they are evacuating over 100 homes, and we've seen sheriff's deputies roaming the highway here as they talk to the homeowners to get them to move out in front of these flames. Again, we've seen no other homes except the one that Conan saw burn about an hour ago. We've seen no other homes go in Fernwood, but it's a mandatory, as you say, a mandatory evacuation because of the advancing flames here. This is Bob Petty reporting from the Channel 4 Telecopter. Paul, back to you in the studio.
Bob, before you go, all morning and last night, people were saying, oh, we want those onshore winds. That's what we're waiting for. I guess that's kind of a good news, bad news situation, according to what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If you remember what I said last night, what we were hoping for was just a return of a non-Santa Ana without any major wind coming from the west, because I said what would happen to that flank was that the whole flank would turn into another head. So what you have here now, instead of a solid flank, thank goodness we didn't have that when this wind changed, is we have spot flanks that have now turned into several different heads of the fires. They head downslope into Topanga and off Topanga, off of Tuna and Saddle Peak roads up here above Fernwood. But definitely many, many homes in danger down below. But the firefighters have all their helicopter assets over here, scooping water out of the Pacific Ocean, bringing it over and hitting these spot fires. And many, many times they've had a lot of time to get the fire engines and ground units down among these homes for structure protection should these flames advance any further.
All right, Bob Petty, thank you. As you said, many homes in danger and 100 people being told to get out right now, and they are. It is mandatory. I'm told now we have a sheriff's deputy on the line. Sir, can you hear me? It's Paul Moyer.
Hi, it's Deputy Hinojos.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Deputy who?
Benita Hinojos.
Anita, the sheriff's department now is involved, I would imagine, in these evacuations. Am I correct?
That's correct. We have sent 75 sheriff's car into the area of Fernwood and Pacific with the intention of evacuating 100 homes.
And that is going on right now?
As we speak, yes. They are up there knocking on doors, making sure that people are aware that they have to leave.
Now, of course they're aware they have to leave, but you know, a lot of people that live up in there, and we had some examples of this last night, just plain old say, look, I'm not going to go. We're talking mandatory here, and I guess you just have to force them, right?
Well, we have to tell them that they have to leave. We have to let them know that it's not safe for them to stay. But on the other hand, there is only so much that we can do, and it is up to that individual. But our responsibility is to let them know what the conditions are and that for their safety they need to leave.
And how much time are you giving them? How much time do they have?
Well, at this point we're telling them they need to leave immediately because of the way that the fire is moving and the way that it's advancing.
So you're talking about people that have to make immediate decisions as to what part of their lives they're going to save and what part might be burned?
That's correct. This area has been on alert since this fire began. And hopefully most of the residents were somewhat prepared that they might have to go, and hopefully it's not going to be a last-minute thing for them.
Now, when you say go, they're going in their own cars. Where do they go?
Well, they can go to any of the evacuation centers that have been established over the last day. There are centers in Malibu and in Palisades and in Calabasas and in Santa Monica.
All right, Deputy Hinojos, thank you very much for being with us and filling us in on the evacuations that are now proceeding, the mandatory evacuations from the Fernwood area on top of Tuna Canyon. You're watching some of that fire burn right now. We will be right back with more of our live coverage on the Firestorms, the second wave, in just a moment.
Foster Farms, here we go! Ah!
Stay cool.
Hi, officer.
Identification, please.
Oh, we're just heading back home, back to Foster Farms.
We're not from out of state or anything. Foster Farms chickens are never frozen. This looks like freezer burn to me.
No.
That was a curling iron accident. Mind stepping out of the car, please?
Foster Farms, always natural, always fresh.
We're fugitives!
KABC Talk Radio, LA's most interesting talk station.
Dennis Prager intrigues me a great deal.
It's just good to get your mind going in directions where you don't normally take it.
Hi, I'm Dennis. I'll be your guide.
He's got a lot of strong opinions on things.
Me?
The kind of guy that you want to argue with sometimes and you want to agree with sometimes.
I can agree with that.
You express your point of view. It's informative.
I think it just makes for more interesting radio. I like him. I like him a lot.
I like her. I like her a lot.
Dennis Prager, early afternoons on KABC Talk Radio.
Look, just so you know, I'm looking for a miracle here.
You believe in miracles?
From fear.
You don't have a lot of time left.
To love.
I need to share this with you, Bob.
From mystery.
Life is trying to teach you.
To discovery. From the unbelievable to the unforgettable. Michael Keaton, Nicole Kidman. My Life, rated PG-13. Sneak preview Saturday night.
As we look at the Fernwood area above Tuna Canyon, imagine being in your home and being told right now you've got about 2 minutes to make decisions. What do you want to take and what do you leave? And you must get out. That is what 100 people in 100 homes are facing right now in the Fernwood area because they are being evacuated. You heard the sheriff's deputy tell us moments ago, and they must get out because the fire has flared. Conan Nolan is down there somewhere on the ground near the Fernwood area watching all of this. Conan?
Hello, Paul. Yes, the aerial assault as helicopters bring in more badly needed water for some of the hot spots left in the community of Fernwood. You mentioned 100 homes. Yes, LA County Sheriff's deputies have been throughout the little roads here, evacuating people, making sure that they know they must leave. I must tell you, though, that most of them have already left. To their credit, many of the homes here were built with fire protection in mind, including this one to my left. This is a perfect example of a home that has a tremendous clearance around it. Dennis, why don't you go ahead and take a picture of it? A clearance around it. It has a red tile roof. Although the fire burned right up to the front lawn, it did not catch fire. That's the story with the vast majority of homes in this community. Firefighters have been able to save as just about all of them. As Bob Petty reported, and the only one that I saw go up was the one we reported on about an hour ago. That was a house that, again, is the way, I hate to put it this way, but it's the way it's been described to me, and that is a Malibu-type construction. Lots of wood, lots of vegetation. Most of the homes here, though, are not of that kind of construction, and they have been saved. As you can see around us, it is all burned out. That's good news because the fire can't come back this way. On the other ridge, as you see this helicopter coming down to help bring down some more water, just underneath is a skip loader, a tractor, as well as, I believe, a U.S. Forest Service hotshot crew. They are on that ridge. The fire continues to burn just over that knoll. We're not sure if there are any homes in that area. We're told that there are none. But onto my left, there's still plenty of different places where the vegetation has not burned off, and it's quite possible that if the wind changes direction, more flames can head in the direction of these homes. In terms, again, though, Paul, of the evacuation, it appears to be complete. We don't see anybody on the road. We don't see anybody on their roof hosing things down. In fact, we don't see anybody except for sheriff's deputies now and firefighters. That's the good part. The fact is, they're still not out of the woods here in Fernwood, but it's looking a lot better, at least from this vantage point. Back to you.
Conan, I think you bring up a very, very good point. The one house that we saw burn that you were at about an hour ago was the typical, as they say, Malibu construction, which might lead someone to believe when we talk about these people that are so independent and so tenacious and they want a certain lifestyle that they're saying safety be damned. But you've just shown us that that's not true, that most of those houses up there really are built, maybe that's new construction, with safety in mind, and the brush is cleared.
And not only that, Paul, but they're doing things that they didn't do 10 years ago. We just didn't have arson watches out here. But now they have that, where people volunteer for arson watch. Take a drive every weekend, keeping their eyes peeled for anybody who may look suspicious. But we just didn't have that 10 years ago. So in addition to protecting their property, it seems that they've pulled together collectively to do everything they can beyond just simply clearing out brush and putting in a fire retardant roof. They're going out of their way, and it's paid rich dividends thus far, at least in this community.
Conan, I know you've been up most of the night. You're about to lose your voice. Would you turn around and look behind you at all that scorched earth, that scorched acreage, and kind of describe where you are and what you see?
Well, right now, we are at the top again of Tuna Canyon. As I direct the photographer, take a look to the right, Dennis. Behind us, you will see the house we referred to that is in good shape. You'll see our minivan, our microwave unit. Unfortunately, that's okay. It's still some hot spots right behind it, but we're okay. Above it, a trailer. You talk about something that'll go up in a few seconds. That would. But again, they made sure that there was enough protection surrounding it, despite the fact those bushes ahead of it, they don't burn very easily, but everything else was cleared off. And further on, Dennis, if you can just move to the left a little bit, you can see the home on top of the ridge. As we go back, that's where the majority of the rest of the homes are located. Again, surprisingly, remarkably, those homes are in good shape thus far, and I can see from the blue sky that it appears that there's no more hot spots, at least over in that area. But Paul, there's still a tremendous amount of activity here. The helicopters rotate in a counterclockwise position as they bring in more water to dump wherever they see flames.
All right, Conan, thank you very much. Those huge Boeing choppers, along with the Sikorskys and the Hueys, doing the job so well in that quick turnaround, because they could just grab that water out of the ocean in those giant buckets and come back and dump her again. And without those choppers, last night, some of them flew last night, which was really unusual. Without those choppers, it might be a totally different story. We'll be back with more of our coverage of the latest fire disaster, Topanga, Malibu, in just a moment.
Your body is 100% natural, she wants you to know, and she got rid of her spider vein. She is Shelley Schubert. She is Miss Spider Vein, and we'll be back in just a moment.
We got this one when your mommy was a little girl, but wait till you see this one.
The Holiday Carousel with 6 carousel animals. It plays 21 of your favorite Christmas.
They are the gang of all gangs. They came together in prison. They came together to protect, intimidate, control, and kill. Cold-blooded executioners who become more powerful every day. Now, for the first time, hear from the most dangerous hitman of them all and go inside the Mexican Mafia, today at 5, only on the Channel 4 News.
Darn cold.
Presenting Scotty's Family Size.
Let me blot my lips. This movie is so sad.
With more tissues for about the same price as the other leading brands, Scotty's Family Size
I gotta sneeze.
is the best tissue value
Here you go.
Thanks. Going.
The Vegas you've never seen before. How casinos protect their millions, how cheaters beat the system, and how they're caught in the act. The Secret Las Vegas, tonight at 11.
Bringing you up to date now on the Topanga Malibu fire at 2:30, coming up on 2:31. You're looking live at flames threatening more homes, firefighters battling that flare-up. Here is the latest at 2:31. As we've been telling you, LA County Sheriff's deputies, 75 of them, are evacuating 100 homes in the Fernwood area above the intersection of Fernwood, Pacific Drive, and Topanga Canyon Boulevard. The homes are in imminent, quote, fire danger, according to the sheriff's deputies. We heard Conan Nolan tell us, though, a few moments ago that most of the people are just simply gone already, and they were for quite some time. Sheriff's arson investigators say they've discovered the point of origin of this fire on a hillside in the 2600 block of Old Topanga Canyon Road in unincorporated Calabasas. That's where it started at about 10:20 or 10:30 yesterday morning. They are calling the fire suspicious. They're not saying it's arson yet. The cause is still unknown. The sheriff's homicide investigators have been brought in to work closely with arson investigators because one fire victim was in extremely critical condition with injuries, burns to about 80% of his body. You might remember that's one of the 2 men that went back at the beginning of the fire yesterday to try to rescue some pets, and they did not come out unscathed. Both of them are in the Sherman Oaks Burn Center, as we said, one in extremely critical condition. Bob Petty has moved closer to the coastline, still around Topanga Canyon, found some more hot spots. Bob?
Yeah, Paul, this is just above PCH. Tuna Canyon is just to the left of these flames. And let me pull back wide, and you'll see Tuna Canyon coming into your screen to your left. You'll see the Canyon Road coming up there. And as we pan to the right, you'll see a couple of homes up on top of the ridgeline, just above these flames as they're pushed by the west winds directly towards these homes. That home right up on top there, and you know how the flames rush uphill and build that heat as it comes up underneath the parts of the homes that are vulnerable and catches so many of those homes that are on the ridgeline that we've seen burn throughout this whole fire. Now I'm going to have Dane pan up one more time above this, and I want you to look back towards the point of origin of this fire. This is the flank, the western flank of the fire that was burning. The smoke was being pushed towards me right now with those northeast winds. With the change of the winds, the west wind, that whole flank has now turned to your right in the screen, which is towards the east, being pushed by that west wind. Let's go back down to this big flare up here, and you can see the results of that as the flames rush towards Topanga Canyon on the south and east side of Tuna Canyon Road. So we've got a very dangerous situation, although not a solid flank. Very many hot spots all along this area that are rushing down towards Topanga Canyon, towards the coastline, and back towards the Fernwood area, and further east or further north than that. So far, we've seen no other homes lost except the one that Conan Nolan shot a few minutes ago, but obviously many more in danger. Again, Bob Petty in the Channel 4 helicopter over Tuna Canyon. Paul, back to you in the studio.
Well, so Bob, then we're kind of back where we started last night with flames again threatening to jump Topanga Canyon. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, Paul, because you've got the west wind. Now, it's not as fierce as wind as those Santa Anas, but you know it's still putting up embers into the sky, into that column of smoke, and that column of smoke is definitely being carried over on the eastern side of Topanga Canyon. So we've got that danger. That's why the firefighters and their heavy lift and light helicopters are working so frantically over here, going to the ocean, bringing in those 2,000 gallons, 2,000 gallon tanks and dropping them on these flames, trying to stop that spread of the flames to the south and to the east.
I would imagine, too, Bob, there's probably a veritable army of firefighters, the pumper units and the ground crews along Topanga Canyon, ready once again for one of these stands.
Yes. Oh, you better believe it. They've had time to prepare for this exact change, knowing that the northeast winds were going to start to die down. These flames that you're looking at around, just to give you some perspective, are 200 feet high, and they're building towards the crest of that ridge line. If you'll stay with me just a second, right behind that column of smoke, in front of those flames, is that house we showed you just a few moments ago. And I'm going to try to move down here. You're going to lose a little bit of the picture, but I've got to move over here to see how close it's getting to that home. But they've had time. Now, this is towards the coast. This is the only home that's overlooking this ridge line. It's not a closely packed community like the community of Fernwood was that we were so worried about down below. But they've had plenty of chance to get firefighters and engines down in those streets of Fernwood to provide structure protection of these fires rush down forward. But the main danger here are those embers that we've seen carry fire back and forth over this fire line so many times in the past 2 or 3 days. That structure is fine. I don't know if we can see it in the camera, but yes, you can. The structure is still fine up here, but the fire is racing towards it. This is only about a half a mile inland up Tuna Canyon. And to our right, the way the direction that the fire is moving is towards Topanga Canyon, and there are other flames further to the north along Topanga or along Tuna Canyon that are even closer to Topanga Canyon Road.
Bob, what was that structure you showed us about 10 seconds ago in the middle of the smoke there? What is that?
Well, you know, I can't, it looks like a home, but maybe it's some sort of institution. I just can't tell. It may be a group of several homes, but it's obscured by smoke up in there. But you can definitely see that this is threatened. Whatever these structures are up in there are definitely threatened by this flare coming up from Tuna Canyon, racing up towards the ridge line that separates Tuna Canyon from Topanga. I do not know exactly. It looked like a couple of homes, but I just couldn't tell for sure.
Well, before daybreak this morning, the situation did not look good at all, and all of a sudden, when the first light of day, the winds calmed down, in this armada, this air army of tankers, the C-130s and the Sikorsky helicopters and the Boeings and the Hueys really attacked this fire. And the word this morning was good news. They'd knocked her down pretty good. But as we're listening to Bob Petty and we're looking at his pictures right now, we're seeing a lot of fire, and we're seeing it in an area and moving a way that they don't want it to, and that is toward Topanga Canyon. We are going to, Bob, stay with us, take a break. We will be back with more of our coverage of this latest flare-up in the Topanga Malibu fire in just a moment.
Nissan Pathfinder presents Warren Miller's Black Diamond Rush. It's more than a movie, it's an event. If you ski or snowboard, you won't want to miss it. Get your tickets today.
Coming to Los Angeles November 10th through December 5th. Plus, everybody attending the show will receive a free early season lift ticket to Snow Summit.
Tickets available now at Ticketmaster, selected Sports LA stores, and theater box offices.
When I joined Secure Horizon, I already had diabetes. That's the only medical problem that I had. The doctor that I got when I joined Secure Horizon paid personal attention to me and my needs. But because I changed doctors, I've changed my way of living. And I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me. There are no premiums, no deductibles, and virtually no paperwork. Secure Horizon covers so much, I feel confident that I'll be taken care of in my old age. You know, I believe in hard work. I get up early every morning. I believe in exercise.
Paul Lass has found a health plan he believes in. So can you by calling 1-800-452-9355 for a free brochure. With no premiums or deductibles and hardly any paperwork, it's a great plan for people with Medicare.
People tell me I don't look like a senior citizen, but I am. I love it.
Have fad diets failed you? Have you tried to lose weight, but nothing works? With Health Advantage, there is hope.
What else is there? I mean, I've done all the dieting that anybody could do. Dieting didn't work for me, so I changed and I considered my options. Did it hurt? No, it didn't hurt. She goes, well, what'd you gain from it? I gained a new life.
Call Health Advantage, 1-800-800-1424. That's 1-800-800-1424.
Every month, millions of people take hundreds of dollars and throw them away. This ritual is called paying the rent.
Hold it. Hold it. Buy a new Kaufman & Broad home right now and we'll pay your mortgage every month till next summer. You'll save thousands. See the real estate section of your weekend newspaper. Buy now, practically live free till next summer with Kaufman & Broad.
We are back here looking at the story of the moment on this Topanga Malibu fire. It is in Tuna Canyon, the Fernwood area, and it is really kicked up. The winds, the onshore winds that a lot of people were looking forward to have kicked up quite a bit, and they are now moving that fire, according to Bob Petty, toward Topanga Canyon. And that is, that's the standpoint. That's where all the that is the boundary that they really want to confine this fire to, because if it jumps Topanga, then you're talking about the communities again of Sunset Mesa, Castlemar, Palisades Highlands, where folks, if they got any sleep last night, probably did it with one eye open, because those areas were threatened last night. As I say, the fire calmed down this morning. Now it's kicking up a bit. 100 evacuations taking place in Fernwood, although Conan told us a lot of those people have left already. Sheriff's deputies are up there getting the ones that haven't left out. Dozens of firefighters have been hurt in fighting this massive 35,000-acre Topanga Malibu fire. The two gentlemen burned yesterday at the beginning of the fire. We remember them. They were taken to Sherman Oaks Burn Center along with a lot of the firemen that suffered injuries. Our Dr. Bruce Hensel is there, and he has been watching the injuries come in and has talked to some of the doctors who have treated these individuals. Bruce?
Yes, Paul. Now, we have a total of 10 individuals here at Sherman Oaks Burn Center. We have the 4 firemen from the Chatsworth fire, 1 LA City captain who injured his foot, and then 5 from the Malibu fire. 2 civilians who are severely burned, and 3 firefighters. Now, with me is Dr. Helmut Billy, who's one of the physicians taking care of the patients. Now, how are the civilians doing, Dr. Billy?
Well, they're stabilized considering their condition. They received major burns to the majority of their body, and the burn unit team right now is actively involved in keeping those 2 patients alive.
Now, are they severe and critical? Is it expected that they will survive?
They're both extremely critical, one a little bit more than the other, and time will tell in the next 2 days how they do.
Well, 48 hours is crucial. What about the 3 firefighters that were brought in most recently from Malibu?
The 3 firefighters primarily had smoke inhalation injuries, and they've done very well with that respect, and 2 of them will be discharged today.
Well, what about the 3rd one? What's the difference with him?
Well, the 3rd firefighter also received some burns to his back, mainly 2nd degree, but partial some 3rd degree burns, and we need to observe those for at least 2 days to see how far they progress and if they require any burn and graft treatment.
That's right. Now, we also understand that there is going to be another firefighter coming in here any minute. We'll stay with it for you, from another one of the fires being transferred from another hospital. I also talked to the Chatsworth firemen, including Jan Berman, who seemed last week, you may remember, to have severe burns to his face. You saw pictures that we showed you of him completely covered up with bandages. The bandages are off, and he is doing incredibly well. These are the stories of the people who have been caring for other people's properties and lives. From Sherman Oaks Burn Center, Dr. Bruce Hensel, live, Channel 4 News. Back to you in the studio.
Bruce, let me ask you something very quickly. We're talking about one individual burns over 80% of his body, the other 50%.
That's right.
If they recover, will they live a totally normal life, and will they be all right?
No, Paul. The fact is that one of them is so severe that it is possible he will not recover. The next 24 hours will tell us the story there, because there are not only severe burns to his body, but to the inside of his lungs as well. The other individual who has 75% burns has a bit of a better chance, but the concern is for scarring and the limitation. This is one of the best centers in the entire world, and if there's any chance to give them back full function, then they will be able to do that here, and we'll stay right with them for you. But for them, right now, the outlook is grim.
All right, Bruce, thank you. We hope for better news, but that's the way it is, and that's the way you told it. Governor Wilson was talking, it's been over an hour ago, about the firefighters hoping for the sea breezes. As the governor put it, I'd like to see 60 miles of fog. Well, we haven't got the fog wafting in, but we do have the sea breezes, and it's not all good news. Here's Fritz to bring us up to date on what the weather's doing. Fritz?
Well, it's not good news in the specific case of Topanga Canyon, North-South Canyon. The east side of the canyon is what they're worried about, that being the borderline with all those expensive Pacific Palisades homes and Sunset Mesa and so forth. So now a sea breeze becomes our enemy in pushing flames from west to east across the canyon. However, it's not very strong. The strongest west winds we're getting are 11 miles an hour. And really, it still is what we would consider a Santa Ana condition, an offshore flow, but the winds have weakened to the point where it's not pushing the sea breeze back. So inland in the valleys, we have northeast winds. At the coast, we have southwest winds. Let me show you why the winds are shifting and weakening. We have high pressure that builds its way in off the eastern Pacific to a point in the Great Basin over northern California. And right under that, offshore winds are set up as air flows from higher pressure to lower pressure off the coast. And then what happens is that this high starts to weaken a little bit, shift ever so slightly over into the northern Rockies, moving a little bit out of the way to the northern Rockies, and then setting up an onshore flow, because the farther away it goes, the less of an influence it has on the California coastline. So we have a little bit of a sea breeze, only to 10 miles an hour. Still in the valley areas, very dry, low humidities, 10-15% relative humidity, but doing better. But now, even though the winds are gone, as I've been saying all week, high pressure is still strong enough over the eastern Pacific to keep all of the storms well up and out of our way into British Columbia. We're not going to get any moisture all week. So sunny, warm, and dry, even without the winds, for the remainder of the week.
Okay, Fritz, thank you. We're going to continue with our special fire coverage in just a moment, including a report on the uglier aspect of all of this, looting and looters. Some people have been arrested. We'll be right back.
When you have trouble falling asleep, take the sleeping aid ingredient that's the doctor's choice, the one in Sleepinol. In a survey, 7 out of 10 doctors chose the sleeping aid in Sleepinol. Sleepinol contains the doctor's choice to fall asleep fast.
When the day moves fast and you can't let heartburn slow you down, how are you going to spell Relief Plus Calcium? With the extra calcium you need and grapefruit flavors, calcium-rich Rolaids spells calcium-rich relief.
Just when you need portraits the most, Kmart gives you 125 portraits for only $7.95. Only $7.95 for 125 portraits. 4 10x13s, 6 8x10s, 10 5x7s, 6 Christmas cards, and 50 wallets. So rush to Kmart, because right when you need portraits the most, we're offering the most portraits. 125 portraits, only $7.95 at Kmart.
If you have dental insurance, there's a good chance that in a few months, you'll be faced with a whole new annual deductible. So why not take advantage of what you've already paid for and see a dentist now before the new year begins? You already know how important it is to see a dentist regularly. That's why you have dental insurance. And right now, postponing just doesn't make any sense. So don't put it off. Call and make an appointment with a dentist today. And if you don't know who to call 1-800-DENTIST, and we'll help you find a dentist in your area.
My husband was killed while driving in another state. After it happened, I didn't know what I was going to do. I couldn't even get the company that owned the truck that killed him to pay for his funeral expenses. Finally, I called David Gray to see if he could help me. Less than a year later, I received a settlement amounting to several $million. That helped.
If you or a loved one are involved in an injury accident and need help, call the legal offices of David Gray,
1-800-GREY-LAW.
The rest is up to us.
You're about to see another side of Effordent, two-layered Effordent, with Arm & Hammer baking soda to help clean and freshen. Two-layered Effordent, clean, fresh dentures come out of the blue.
How long does Replens relieve the discomfort of vaginal dryness? All day, all night, through the next day and night. Discover the difference of Replens vaginal moisture that lasts for days.
At 2:48, the western flank of the Topanga Malibu fire out near Pepperdine in pretty good shape, according to reports we're getting here. It's the eastern flank. It's the one near Topanga Canyon that they're concerned with, namely the Fernwood area up above Tuna Canyon. Bob Petty went down toward the coast. He's back up a little inland now. Bob, any better news about the winds of the fire?
Well, the winds are still blowing at about 10 to 15 miles an hour, just out of about the 250 southwest direction. Of course, pushing the winds or the fires back to the north and the northeast. And it's sweeping that whole western flank of the fire that was burning towards the coast. It's turned it, and various spot fires, and is burned on several fronts now, headed towards from Tuna Canyon Road down through this little community of Fernwood and down towards the western slopes of Topanga Canyon. There are still some major hot spots all through that area. You're looking at homes that have been bypassed the fire, but to the right of that, heavy smoke and flame that's down inside on the western slope of Topanga Canyon that we cannot get to show you. We're over the Tuna Canyon Road about a half mile inland from the coast right now.